Maybe you got that secret signal from somewhere. Anyway, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your lunch, courtesy of Mr. Marks and Mrs. Spencer. Lovely ladies in the kitchen that prepared it all. You to do making long distance calls on page and doing it during the lunch break. Please set your phones. Thank you. Our next speaker is Ken Toll. A lot of you will know Ken as a past chairman of the Guild. And Ken, I don't think there's a seminar yet that you've missed.
A couple.
I think we should have one of those little cards, with little stamps on. You get a free coffee after after 10, or a free seminar after 10 seminars, or even 5. Anyway, Ken has been using databases and spreadsheets to record his one-name study for over 20 years. From 2006 to 2010, he produced the Guild's Register of One-Name Studies using spreadsheets to automate document formatting prior to publication. Today, Ken will share some of the pitfalls when using Excel as a one-name study database and the ways to overcome them. Please welcome Ken Toll.
Right. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Right. I must apologise. This is a very dry subject. Incredibly steep learning curve. Custodian has put a wrapper around Microsoft Access that allows you to keep data in particular templates, but they are not easy for the beginner to use. You have to do all your work up front to make it look like you want it to look before you can even start. It's tricky. At the other end of the spectrum, we've got things like Microsoft Word. You can type all your notes into Microsoft Word, absolutely fine, but limited searching, certainly limited sorting and sifting and manipulating the data. So Excel spreadsheets form a reasonable compromise. They are not ideal for the job, but they do a passable job and they will work. I've been doing that for some time. I think that is the curtain.
You carry on.
Yeah, okay. I think you go on to why Excel. The reason simply is a lot of people have it on their PC. But if you don't have Excel, as Rodney mentioned earlier, there's OpenOffice and there is LibreOffice. Both are free, and during this display I'll be using things that were recorded in Excel at home and are on LibreOffice here. And even the presentation was done in LibreOffice because the requirements for Microsoft were that with my license, I cannot use it at a Guild event. Really. It's student and home edition, and that precludes using it for profit or even non-profit. The LibreOffice and OpenOffice, they are both based on something called StarOffice, and it used to retail for about £50 and now widely available free of charge on the net. There are some sites that go for the free one. Both, by the way, they've got PowerPoint presentations, and I think they both come with a database called Base. Problems with spreadsheets. Because you need to perform, or Microsoft decided people would need to perform arithmetic with dates, they convert dates into numbers. But they only do this from 1st of January 1900 in an Excel for the PC, and I believe it's 1st of January 1904 if you've got an Apple Macintosh, just for useful compatibility between the two. That means that if you're dealing with dates that span 900, as we genealogists do all the time, the dates are treated differently, and when you sort them, you get unexpected results. So, and I'll come back to that later. I now realise my eyesight's not as good as it was, and I should have been doing this in a larger font. One of the solutions for the date problem is to separate your combined date field into years, months, days, which is something I do automatically now. I find that it is just unusable as it is. There are also advantages in having forenames and surnames in separate fields. Again, sorting, if you've got a combined field, is not useful, and if you've pasted information from somewhere else, it may be surname comma forename or forename comma surname. And again, you can't mix and match, so I always separate mine out and put them in. I usually, if I'm extracting something from the web, I put it in a separate database or separate table first, mess around with it until I'm happy with it, and then I'll copy it into my master spreadsheet, but not until I'm absolutely happy that everything's exactly where it should be. These are pearls of wisdom learnt from years of pain. I work from the adage, if it can go wrong, it will. If you think it hasn't gone wrong, you only haven't found it yet. Yes, I use a standard spreadsheet for my one-name study. In fact, I've got a copy of the template I'll show you later on. The only thing it doesn't have is a field for trees, and I'll come back for that later on. But I find it very useful, particularly my wife Jean has just started her one-name study, and she now has a column for what tree somebody belongs to, and it's paid huge dividends, and I wish I'd done that 25 years ago. I've got to go back and do it again. Right, we're going to go for some practical examples. It says, you must all have come across FreeBMD. It's our bread and butter. For this, I'm doing a search for my surname, all types, that's births, marriages, and deaths. I'm taking September 1837, when civil registration started, and going to June 1937, so we get a nice 100 years worth of data, and it is quite good. After 1937, certainly in the 1940s, 50s and 60s, I think I've got the details here, the data is pretty good from the beginning of August to births up to 1940, marriages up to 1951, and deaths up to 1964. After that, there are some significant gaps in the data. Don't get a representative extraction. But what I'm going to show you is so easy that you won't worry about going back and doing it again. Now, I did all this the hard way, as many of us did, go to St Catherine's house in the lunch hour, and for 5 years I copied them religiously, and I came home at night and typed them all up, because we didn't have laptops or things like that. And now I'm going to show you how to get 100 years worth of births, marriages and deaths in seconds. And it's sickening. Right, I put in the name, surname only, no Christian name, no districts, no counties. I haven't got phonetic search on surname, so it's just going to do a straight find. I actually did do a count. Tell you the number it throws back are 2,526 entries for 100 year of the three events, and that works. If you've got a larger study, it may be necessary to break it down, either just do the births, the marriages, the deaths, or break down the time period. But for me, as a measure of the size of the study, 1881, there's about 500 tolls of my spelling. So it's a small to medium study, and it's only taken 20-something years. And I'm just getting out of the UK. So when you click find, and I can pretend to click find and it just goes on to another screenshot, it comes back with a page, and you can see by the little thing up the top there's an awful lot there. It's listed the whole lot, starting with the births in 1837 and going all the way through. But had you all spotted this little button up here called download? It took me a long time. I don't know whether it was always there or not, but it was a long time before I found it. And you click on the button download, and surprise, surprise, that's exactly what it does. And gives you a spreadsheet that has got, it gives you a comma separated, well, I'll show you the file. There we are. I think it's tab separated. It's got headers telling you about the Crown copyright. It's also got foot. But you can open it up in Notepad or whatever your chosen text processor is and snip out the bits you don't want. And that goes, I've gone back. We'll stay where we are. The thing will open directly in Excel. It will, if you call it a .csv instead of a .text, it will open in most of the other programs as well. This is in OpenOffice Calc. You can see at the top, but it looks just like Excel, smells like Excel, but the menu items in a slightly different order. And that, when I actually downloaded it, I think it took about 2 minutes for it to go away and think about it and give me the spreadsheet. Incredibly useful. If you're wondering what the AAD is, that's age at death, which comes in 1866 or so. But it does give you the whole lot. It would be rather nice to sort them on volume and page, but hey, they changed it in 1852, so that's not very useful. But I have found that sorting by registration district and year, unfortunately this one does give you the year and quarter separately. No good sorting by quarter because it's alphabetical. So they don't come in the 4 quarters you expect. So you either search for SEP and replace with Q3 or whatever takes your fancy. I've also, in my one at home, actually gone through dealing with a limited number of registration districts, and I've worked out which counties they're mostly in. Of course, they don't fall on county boundaries, they never do. But most of them are in particular counties, and that has allowed me to sort by county, by registration districts, and that's sometimes groups found this together. Let me see if I can give you some examples, but I need to check. Yeah, right, let me. There's the, just to show you how easy it is to trim the results. I go from there to there, hit delete, and that one. Want to keep the title, delete that. I think I've got a blank line there or two. If I go all the way down to the bottom, and there is a lot of it. 43 pages before we get to that bit, which explains what the flags are. Delete that, save it, and then you can open that in Excel. To save us doing that, we've got them there. It doesn't look too bad. You can't see all the columns, unfortunately. But if I make it so you can see the columns, you won't be it. What I do is highlight all the columns, and this little one in the corner, in case you didn't know, will allow you to highlight the whole lot. Because if you do a order and you haven't got them all corrected, all selected, they will actually just sort the ones you've selected and leave the others where they were, so your data gets out of step, and I've done that. And it took me several months before I realised I got people in the wrong registration districts. And then somewhere here, probably under data, there is, no it's not. Okay, it's not the same as office. There's text to columns and I can't see for looking. Anybody know where text to columns is on this one? Titles. Yes, I would expect it under data, I just didn't see it. You wouldn't believe I rehearsed this, would you? It worked at home, honest. Is it? Oh yes, so it is. Now I wonder why that is. It obviously knew I was going to do it, didn't it? Ah, sorry. Stupid boy. I don't want to do text to columns, I want to do filter. I've on the wrong bit of the script. Filter, thank you. There we go. I was going to go for advanced filter. And filter. Okay, cancel that. Don't need to have it all sorted, just go straight forward, data, filter, advanced filter. Instead of highlighting it all. Yes, that's it. Data, filter, advanced filter. That is still going to the... Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. What it was... data, filter... Try standard filter. Ah. Okay. District. No, it's not filter. I really have made a mess of this, haven't I? Salt. Salt key. District. Salt key. Yeah. Right. Back in business. Sorry, folks. Now we have two observations. One is we have some interesting districts. I think James may actually be Dalston, and that one is almost certainly London. Though London's not a district, is it? In 1848. But it needs a little bit of research on FreeBMD to go back and look at the image and see what it should have been. All the rest conveniently come out in date order, and you can... I should have found a good one that works. But from a marriage and then down to the children every 18 months, 2 years afterwards. It's a very good way of picking out potential families. But you do have to be careful, because one brother will get married in a district and another brother will come along and join him with his wife and have several children. And if you're not careful, you can, as I have, allocate the children to the wrong marriage. But as I now carefully say, it's a guide. It doesn't reconstruct families, but it allows you to identify families that may be worth pursuing for reconstruction using a census. Well, I think that's pretty much all I was going to say on that. It's there for you to play sort and sift and shuffle and do the counting of names. If counting of different Christian names is what turns you on, then you can look at fertility figures by just selecting the marriages. There's lots of things to be had once you've got the data in a form like this. The secret is to get it in that form in the first place. Obviously, the original page on FreeBMD, we could have copied and pasted that, but it's in such a format that you can't easily put it into Excel at all. this way it saves hours. It certainly would have saved me 5 years. Right. Cool, that was quick, even with all that pain. The next one we're going to look at is... Oh, two things I do. One is just add a column to the left. This is where we go. Insert columns. There we go. I put one in that I call hash. If only I could find hash. But I then number the entries so that when I muck up the spreadsheet later on, I can put them back in the order they were in the first place. And of course, hey, I've already mucked it up. But I should be able to do some undoing. But the under edit, under sort, there we are. Insert column. Hash on this one is somewhere strange. There it is. Never practice on one PC and then use another one. Absolutely fatal. You think you can put it, it depends how your copy is set up, but if you put one in there and drag down, hey, this one's doing it. Now mine at home doesn't. I was going to tell you that if it comes down, it goes 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, you hold the control key down, and if that doesn't work, hold alternate down. But this one's going to do it exactly as I want it. How about that? But, yes, I know, but I like to see what... There's a lot of them. With this number, Shift Control N would have been... Yeah. Oh, I did that. And there we go. And we can save that if we want to. So the other thing is we're doing on Gene's spreadsheets is we've added a column for tree, and then we identify which family tree. And you're up to 10 now? 9. And 3 of those have been, since we started at, 3 of those trees have already been combined. But I wish I'd done it because it's very difficult now, all these years on, to know which people I've got in the spreadsheet aren't on a tree, and which people on the spreadsheet are in 2 trees. It happens. Clearly one is a mistake. Shouldn't have the same person in 2 trees, but it can happen. Right. Close without saving. And go back to there. Alright, family search. All use family search? Yes, can. Brilliant new feature they've added is the ability to download the results rather than copy and pasting off their site. And that's the way they did it before. Every entry covered 2 lines and took a lot of sorting around. I worked out ways of doing it, but it was hours of torturous stuff. This one's not much better, but it is better. There's a little. We'll come back to the. Go back to the words. Yet a third column I add to the spreadsheet for FreeBMD, by the way, is where and when I got the data. So if I copy and paste it somewhere else, it goes with its origin. So if it's FreeBMD 8th of August 2013, that then goes with the data if I copy anything out. Otherwise, again, 20 years on, I've got data. I have no idea of its provenance. I'm having to go back and do it all over again. I'm sure we've all been there. So if somebody told me at the beginning that I'd have to record all this additional data that wasn't relevant, I'd have said, nah. I can see lots of nodding, so obviously people agree with that. To use this new facility on on Family Search, you do need to have an account. The accounts are free. They don't seem to check up on you. They don't mail you any religious texts, and they do give you the feature which is up here to export the results, and I'll come to that in just a moment. When you do a search, you get your results come up. And if you've done a search for 30, you usually get a choice of 20. Is that visible up there? 20, 50, or 75 results. I started off doing 20, and I realised it was going to take an eternity because it only allows you to download that 20. You can go to 75, but as somebody put on the forum the other day that you can change it to 100, and that works as well. And if you change it to 200, which is what I've done there, you get the helpful little message in pink that says you cannot download more than 100 results. So even though it will display 200 results, you can't download them. I've now got to decide whether I prefer to actually scrape it off the screen and use the 200 results or do it 100 at a time. I opted for 100 at a time. So I just went through this, and then at the bottom is next page, next page, next page. Having done download, and save them all. So if that's far too small to read, so let's go. Oops. Oh yes. Right. This is the first one. This is 1 to 100. It comes down. It is an Excel format spreadsheet. It's got a information top and bottom. I use the highlight all and click on the join between columns. That automatically sets them to the correct width for the largest cell, except this one's got the annoying bit in there. So I'm going to undo that and then put it back where it's okay. All the rest are then set to the maximum size of the cell, and it gives you not only the births, which is what I was looking for, but some of them it gives you marriages, parents. As far as I know, it is most of the data that you would have got by clicking on the little down arrow from each entry. And that's what the whole thing looks like. Now, all well and good, I don't know whether I can zoom in on this. You 100%. That's a little bit better. Two things, they've got the name as all in one field, unlike FreeBMD where the Christian names and surnames were separate, these are together. And the dates are all in one field, but they are 2 digits, space, 3 characters, space, 4 digits. And it is generally consistent through the whole lot, but we will come back to that. So there are ways of chopping these things up, and I think that's the next item on my list. Yes, I actually was very specific. I searched for my surname in Bedfordshire, which is where mine come from, my own particular family. It wasn't a mistake, I did that deliberately, but I happen to know that in Bedfordshire my family come under other surnames as well. Tole is the predominant original one, and the spelling only changed about 1750. So as it is at the moment, everybody's got the same surname, so I could actually just go through that column and delete, search for those names and replace them with nothing, and I could open up another column and just copy down the name toll. But we're going to pretend that I didn't do that. What I'm going to do is search for space TOL and replace it with something else, so that I can actually use a tool that's built into Excel to allow me to separate the columns. So I think I'm doing the name first. So we can go no, not there. This is where it's good to use Excel, because I know where everything is. It's in edit, thank you very much indeed. No, I'm trying to do text, I'm just trying to do search and replace. Edit, right, okay, thank you. Yeah, find and replace, got it. Search for, this is a good presentation. You should see my bad ones. I'm going to search for space TOL, because the other spelling would be TOLE, that wrong double L. And I'm going to replace with a character that you won't normally get in surnames, which is $, TOL. Replace all, and it should go through. Actually, sorry, I'm not going to do it in this one. Close without saving, because that's only 1 to 100. I've actually got a combined one, and this one's called combined copy because I always work on a copy. That stops me messing up the one that I don't want to mess up. There they are. Edit, find and replace. So replace with so replace all. Let's go through. Close. You have to be careful with some surnames, because if you don't pick the right letters, you can pick letters that will occur in a Christian name as well, and you'll get $2 in there. And what I'm going to do next, well, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to open up 2 rows, insert 2 columns, and then we're going to do the thing that I couldn't find earlier, and I've already forgotten where it is. Text to columns, data. Text to columns, that's it, thank you. And I'm going to go for separated, but not with a tab. It's going to be separated with other, which is a $sign. And it's already identified that it's going to move over the characters. Click on OK. And abracadabra, they're all separated out. It would have done that if I'd got the mix of surnames in there. And you can do that. The text of columns is incredibly useful. Now, of course, it's no longer full name. I've got to retitle it and put in full name, surname. And that is, again, saves hours of work. If you haven't got a convenient thing to use to do the text to columns search, put a character in that you're not going to find in your data. I use percentage, dollar and hash usually, and that will allow me to do all sorts of interesting things that are beyond the scope of today. The next one I want to come to, we are slightly ahead of schedule, is the dates. Now, I can see that there are a couple of strange dates. Fortunately, there are no dates after 1900 in this, but there's an 1883 on its own, and there are a couple of other spurious dates. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is go back to the beginning, insert a column which we will now call hash, if we can find it. If not, we won't. What did you say for that, Gordon?
Hold shift down, control N.
Hold shift down, control N.
Yeah, then control N.
Oh, control end, right.
That will now select everything.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to go left until you get to the bottom of that column.
Yeah.
Hold shift down, control N.
Control end. Not in this one. It's not. Yeah, it's all right. No. I think it's useful. Yeah, there are subtle differences between each of the applications. Yeah. There's usually more than one way of skinning a cat. Yeah. But now we've got our number there, and I found hash. And now we can go back and try sort. Is that in this one? No, it's not. Data, sort. And I want to do it on column I, which is christening date. I think I have to tell it that yes, I know it's column I, but if I don't tell it I've got a header, it will go and hide the header. I suppose I could always put that back. There's usually, like Excel, there's a little thing to say, we've got headers. And this one can't, but you'll just have to imagine, and if I muck it up, I muck it up. So we'll just go for column I, and sort it. Interesting. That's, oh, I see what it's saying. Yes, so we've got two that have got no dates. They're easy because I could just put in a couple of spaces. I think one of the tricks is to see how it's going is actually to change the font to something like Courier. There's different fonts are spaced differently. And Courier is one of those ones where every character has the same amount of space. And you can see I didn't need to do that because it was in the right place in the first place. Strange, look. That's it. And there's somewhere down the bottom that I've got an 1800 lurking around. There we go. The important thing was to have all the things lined up because now we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to put in 2 extra columns. Insert columns. You're clever. You should be up here. And then we go back to data, text to columns, and go for fixed width. And now we can choose exactly, because each of the columns are equal, we can choose where we want. I personally like to put it, Excel suggests it ought to go before the space, I like to put it either side of the month, because the numbers, it will throw away the spaces usually. And that will now allow me to get the date in one, day in one, month in another, and year in a third. Go for OK. Apart from the first one, interestingly, no, but what it's done is left the original information behind, and I wasn't expecting that. Excel don't do that. I presume that's the problem rather than my finger trouble. Definitely should have rehearsed with this one. Well, it's a simple matter just to delete it because we don't know what the date is, but it's just not quite what I was expecting. And I should be able to go back and data sort by column A. Okay, now we are back to the original sequence. Yeah, and that's done the same. That's left the 1883. How strange. Any ideas, anyone? I could have done that. Yeah. It's because, I think it's because it's not the same program. These do similar things to Excel, but they are not Excel, and the way they do things is different. And I think the gentleman was right. It's not overwriting. Excel does. But that's the difference that £100 will make. But I think you get the general gist. It's possible to split your dates up. I was going to come along, and I have got a little bit of time, but there's the question of the addresses. Now, the addresses in here are interesting, but you think I could just do exactly the same again. I could do text to columns, but it doesn't quite work as you think, because it will start moving. Using the comma as a separator, it would move the things into separate columns. But the last one is England, and what you actually want is England to end up all in the same column. And it doesn't, because some of these have got 3 elements, and some, like that one, has got 4 elements in it. So it will move it one to the right, and then you could do that, obviously. And it will then be a question of manually going around and copy and pasting them back to where you want them. No, well, not within the program as stands. People have written macros or plugins, I think they are, that actually allow you to do that. And I'm going to close that without saving. I've done one, and I'm quite happy to share this with anybody who cares. I thought I got it here. No, apparently not. But I've written a little formula that will actually count the number of commas in there, and if they're on the right number, it will add some on the top, on the front, until they are the right number. And it's unbelievably complicated. I won't explain it here. So
another way to do it is to actually sort it by the full column. All the England together on top. And then
sort it by.
If you sort it by the full column.
Yes.
Then we have all the ones in England with 4 columns.
Yeah, and then move the others across. Yep. Very good solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. As with everything, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I like that. Why didn't I think of that at the weekend? I spent hours coming up with a formula to do it. Yeah, obvious. Yeah. Okay, that's about the end. I was going to show you the template I use.
Thanks very much. Working. Thanks very much, Ken. I certainly think for someone starting off with a one-name study, manipulating that data that we saw first of all is certainly a really, really good way to start from FreeBMD. And we have a question.
How much of that works in Microsoft Excel, but 2007 version, where the toolbar
It was
is totally different?
actually done in Office 2007. That's what I created it in, and then I've opened it up in LibreOffice, which is one I'm not familiar with, but it was the one that's on this laptop.
Okay.
I practiced on OpenOffice just to make sure that it would work.
Yeah, I've done all mine in longhand, if you like, in 2007, where I've taken the information from FreeBMD and various places, and then written it all down in pencil, and then gone to the spreadsheet and entered it like longhand, if you like.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
When I'm not a computer expert by any shades of the imagination, but when I was messing about with the toolbar in 2007, I'm sure that there was a thing in there that does that column separation
Yes.
thing without having to do this text to columns and all that.
There's a text to columns button on the data menu.
Right.
Um,
And that does all that without going through the other bit.
you've still got to define what your separators are, whether you're going to use something like a dollar symbol to separate it. If you've got separators in there already, absolutely fine. But there are things like Christian name, surname, that if it's just written out without a comma in there, you're stymied. You've got to go through and find something to act as the separator when they weren't kind enough to provide it. Some of them will put surname, comma, forename, or forename, comma, surname. Great, you just go text to columns, use comma as the separator, or if they've got a tab in there, use tab as the separator. Absolutely fine. Well, this was the what if they don't. I appreciate it. It was perhaps more complicated than needs to be, but most of the world is more complicated than it needs to be.
Do we have, yes, another question over the other side. Ken, I'll just need to squeeze past you.
Am I allowed 2 questions, Ken?
Yes, Helen.
Thank you.
Make them easy.
Everything's easy if you know the answer just like that. Okay. Just recently, I was trying to do something in Excel that I'd done in the past. Couldn't remember how to do it, and when I went to the help files, I couldn't find the right vocabulary. Okay, so if you have column headings, then yes, I go to the top right-hand corner and I drag down so that as I skim through, the column headings are there on the screen. What I couldn't remember was how on earth to do it for my first column, where you have the numbers for your entries. Can you tell us how to set that up, please?
What, just adding an extra column and numbering it?
No, to position it, keep it on the left, so
Oh.
as you skim across the 30 columns,
That's the free.
the 1, 2, 3 and 4 stay there permanently. Sorry?
Yeah. Let me just.
Hey,
It's column. Window. Freeze. Right, I need you to put. It split. No, that's not done it. I thought it was.
Difficult to demonstrate.
I think we'll all agreed it's possible, just remembering.
Yes.
Right. The second thing is you talked about scraping data.
Yes.
The phrase I've frequently heard. When you talk about scraping data, is this the old idea of running down a page of entries, highlighting them and copying them? Is that what you mean?
That's what I do, but it doesn't just mean that. There are screen scrapers that will actually take the data.
Is table to clipboard a screen scraper?
Ish.
Because that would have been my first reaction.
Yeah.
to
There's
the
a better
LBS.
one. Table to clipboard in Firefox is good. There's a better one in Chrome.
Oh.
Which I particularly love, but it's not on my Chrome on this one, and we've not got an internet connection.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those things where there isn't a proper definition of. Originally, it was just copy and paste. Now you've got ways of copying the entire screen and trimming out bits. Bob probably knows the application for Outwit Hub. Thank you. Yep. And yep. But there are lots of different products out there. Lots of things are called scrapers. When I was at work, we had other applications that literally just lifted the image.
I think if anybody's interested, after the seminar's finished, I think if they have a word with Rodney or Bob or whoever, or indeed yourself, of course, then they can find out, because I think we're going to be... It sounds like it does, yeah. Rodney, did you get that? Subject for another seminar. But I think the arrangement would be, though, not to try and do it live, maybe. I'm not sure. Is there any other questions? Any other questions? Yes. All right, I'll whiz around here. Hold on a sec.
Yes, Morris. Treat me gently.
I shall. Thanks very much for a fascinating lecture. I'm wondering, do you have an extra column for identifying which family or which family branch each piece of data belongs to?
As I said, I have one called tree, or certainly Jean does, and I've got to back convert all mine to make sure that I've mopped up all the odds and ends. I haven't got one for branch, although I use Family Historian, and that does it. I think that allows you to have branches. TNG certainly does.
Thanks very much. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, I've just got a couple of things I'd like to mention in the few minutes that we've got before the tea break. On the bookstall, over on my right and your left, Debbie, our next speaker, has written 2 books. One is called DNA and Social Networking. There is one left on the stand over there, but I'm sure... of which there is certainly more than one copy. Okay, a couple of things before you all rush out at the end of the seminar. Please complete your comment forms. There's plenty of space on the back if you have lots of comments to make. Leave them in the box on the way out. Please also leave these very expensive badges, complete with your name. You don't even have to bother to take them out. There's a box outside to leave them in. You've also got, in the packs that you were given when you came in, notification of the next seminar, which will be an extremely popular seminar at the National Archives. So what I suggest you do is, within the next few days, I think that could be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it will go up on the Guild website. So I would suggest, I'm certainly going to get in there very quickly anyway, because I really want to go to that. If you've got people that emigrated to Australia, or rather were even sent to Australia for whatever reason, people that went to Canada, people that went to other colonial countries many, many years ago. This will be an astonishing seminar for you to attend. You can, of course, fill out the form that you've got there. Badges, feedback forms, next seminar up on the website early next week. I think that's all we've got to say. So, tea break is now, and we're back at 3:15. That's half an hour's tea break. Thank you. Thanks very much, Ken. Thank you.